everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Treasure Board Podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I am joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, we are not dead after all, huh?
Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's pretty, it's wild. This will be my first mock that I have done all year. So that'll be fun.
See if you can come off the bench and hit a three or get the pinch hit here.
Yeah. I haven't even looked at the ADPs, so it'll be interesting to see how things go. And I'm on the turn, so yeah, that's a great spot to be when you haven't.
Gives you a lot of time to think.
Yeah, you aren't kidding.
Yeah, this is the definition of the "look at us, who would have thought" meme.
Yeah, for real. So this will be a fun one. Before we do, there's a lot of chaos in the league with all these injuries, and also the Brandon Ayuk saga. You want to touch on some of those injuries there?
Yeah, I was going to run through a couple here. I was looking, like 2 weeks ago, we probably wouldn't have much to talk about, but just going through sleepers, kind of news op here. 13 days ago, D'Onta Foreman gets hurt on the field here. Was probably going to be the goal line back, and it seems like maybe not as severe as they were thinking, but still probably going to hold him out for a good bit. So does that do anything for Chubb, for Pierre Strong maybe getting some work there behind Jerome Ford?
Yeah, I'd imagine. I don't know if people are really drafting Pierre Strong. I guess we'll see as this draft goes on because I don't know. I'd imagine it helps Ford a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they must be confident in what they got because when he went down, I figured, maybe they would sign 2 weeks Hunt back or something like that just to fill the spot. But no. So yeah, I think it's all good. Foreman's one of those interesting cases where he's never the starter. He's never the backup, but then when he comes in, he's very fantasy relevant. So
seemed like he was going to get the goal line work, but that's what Kareem Hunt got last year. So it didn't seem like it was going to be a huge factor for Ford. Yeah. Now maybe he gets more of the goal line work because of it.
Maybe, yeah.
Also, 13 days ago, Justin Herbert plantar fasciitis, and with that right foot injury, said he was going to wear a boot for 2 weeks. I don't think I saw him out of the boot yet, but we would be right around that time frame right now that he should be coming out of it. You worried about, drafting Justin Herbert, even if he had a limited training camp here?
I wasn't that interested in him to begin with, so this doesn't change that much.
Yeah, he seemed like a decent late shot because I've seen some people saying there's a chance that could be more of a rushing version of him. Now, this injury maybe kind of trumps that a little bit, but it did seem like that's something that the John Harbaugh offense ran a good bit in college, and maybe they tried to utilize with how much they're going to run the ball. Probably not going to be the thing early this year if you have a quarterback coming off of a right foot injury, though.
Yeah, very true.
Another big one here, DeAndre Hopkins out 4 to 6 weeks as of 2 weeks ago, so that maybe puts him to miss the first couple weeks of camp. Is that, lower him, roll him out because he's going to get a late start? Does that bump up Calvin Ridley or Tyler Boyd for you at all?
Yeah, not Boyd. I do think it probably bumps up Ridley a little bit. That's nice because you're always, you got a new quarterback for Ridley who's also young. So building that rapport is important. And if there's going to be more volume going to Ridley early in the season because of that, and during, preseason and practice, maybe that helps get that rapport established quicker. Obviously, it hurts Hopkins. He wasn't not really on my radar, I don't think. I guess depends on what his ADP is. But if you're missing a couple weeks in the season and, you're kind of suspect to begin with, it's not ideal.
Yeah, they were a sneaky team that, a lot of people talking about just that offense as a whole being better than people give them credit for, or just being better than people expect this year, being that maybe that sneaky offense. Will Levis has a ton of weapons, right? So if he can put it together and even be a decent quarterback, you got good pairing in Pollard and Spears at running back. You've got Hopkins when he's back, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, corpse of Treylon Burks, right? They still have their other depth guys like Kyle Phillips and Westbrook-Ikine. So it could be a pretty good offense. It's just who is going to be the one that's relevant there.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we had a CMC injury. It seems like a little calf strain. And it was obviously a few weeks ago now. So has he been practicing since then?
I don't think so. But I think it's
probably
just,
not worth it with him at this
it's just
point.
precautionary. I wouldn't be too concerned. I haven't heard any additional bad news, so I'm not worried.
Yeah. Puka Nacua, another one there that's been week to week with a knee injury as of 9 days ago. Here today, as we're recording on the 14th of August, just to give people a little timestamp. That one I feel like might be a little scary, mostly because of its ADP. You may see it there. It's late first, early second, which, with an injury there, he had a great rookie year, but with some of the running backs going around him, I feel like I was already, it's already a little too rich for my blood, and now I feel like it's kind of pulled me almost completely out of the Puka Nacua sweepstakes because I think people are going to take him.
Yeah, he was never really on my radar to begin with. What bothers me about this is that Cooper Kupp, I believe I had heard, was in like the 4th, 5th, 6th round, and that would definitely put him on my radar. And I imagine that ADP has risen because of this news. I would just think.
Yeah, I was getting Debo in the 3rd, Cooper in the 4th, and it was nice for a little while, but I don't think they're both going to stay there.
Yeah, it's a shame.
A couple of quick hitter injuries here. We had Josh Downs, depth receiver, kind of maybe 2nd or 3rd guy there. In Indy, you have Rondale Moore, more of a depth guy, getting carted off in Atlanta. So, maybe looking at a rookie, stepping up with A.D. Mitchell, maybe Alec Pierce, one of them maybe jumping into that number 2 role in Indy, and then probably really looking at Darnell Mooney, pretty solidified there as a receiver 2 in Atlanta.
Yep, agreed. And not a whole lot of fantasy relevance there, you wouldn't think, but noteworthy nonetheless.
Yeah, and then it does look like Moore was definitely season ending, so that's obviously going to be painful for them. TJ Hawkinson's an interesting one. He's been injured pretty much the whole season as he'll come back from the ACL, but we were saying at some point in the first half of the season, is that a guy that you'd want to draft and stash? Do we think even if he gets back mid-season, is he going to be giving you enough, second half of the season to warrant being picked up?
I think I'd rather just stay away from that entire team right now.
Because I mean, as we get to more injuries, there, right?
Yeah, what's his name?
Tarnished.
Who's the the rookie from
JJ McCarthy and Addison.
Yeah, Addison got carted off. JJ McCarthy obviously out for the year.
Done for the year.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, rather have long term, probably not. But maybe this year, it could be if Darnold is what they hope he is. Could be good for fantasy, at least for the quarterback, or for the receivers.
It's more stable. You don't draft like a Jefferson and sit there and be like, "Oh man, I'm waiting for the week that McCarthy starts, the production drops or something like that." But
he's been scary, I think, to draft where we're seeing him in that like 3, 4, 5 range because the guys around him are just as elite and have stable quarterbacks. And Jefferson, you're banking all off season here that he's going to get a rookie at some point. So maybe that makes it a higher floor, but maybe not. The ceiling is still a little capped because his quarterback isn't nowhere near the QBs that these other receivers around him have. Hollywood Brown goes down, which there's still a ton of receivers there, so I don't think that's giving any one of the other guys a lot, and it's not really hurting anybody else. People aren't really going after him. But Marshawn Lloyd was one I thought was interesting. He seemed like maybe he could carve out a role as the Packers always use 2 running backs. And just a couple days ago, hamstring injury, those tend to linger. You're a rookie running back. You kind of want to make an impact early to be worth getting drafted at least in a fantasy draft, that is.
Yeah, and it makes Josh Jacobs more interesting. I was iffy on him, and I'm still iffy on him, so I don't know what I would do about that. I think I'd probably still stay away, but it does.
Yeah, it's just the philosophy there is it's just always multiple running backs. Like it was always Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. They were always working somebody else in. Malik Neighbors seemed to have escaped a major injury, and it's just a minor ankle sprain. Good for our rookie team who we were able to load up on Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors there, and the 1-2 there. A little recap since I don't think we did any mocks here on the pod.
Yeah. So that was a very fortunate. So another solid volume play.
Yeah. He is someone I think that is interesting. Like, you can get him right now, and I don't know exactly where the ADP is. Probably like 4th round, or Marv is going in the beginning of the 2nd. Both pretty rich based on where rookie receivers usually go.
Yeah, I'd rather take the ADP discount, I think.
Yeah, right. And with them, I like them both, but I'm kind of happy I have them on the dynasty. We have them on the dynasty team, so I don't feel like as FOMO not getting one of them to hit here, right? With our redrafts.
Yep.
Big one that just came out though, Jahmyr Gibbs hamstring injury.
Yeah, that's a big red flag for me. I do not like my hamstring injuries in preseason. Mm-mm. So he's probably just done for me.
Yeah, no. I pulled my hamstring last summer, and I kind of, we always get angry at our fantasy players, but I vowed to not do it again because I know what it feels like, and it is it's not what it's more painful than you think. You can't do anything, and even when it feels better, you still have to give it more time. So he was another big one. A couple other ones just the last day or two. Tyron Tracy goes down. He was a darling rookie running back for the Giants that people were taking late in drafts and then in their dynasty drafts. Looks like he may have avoided like major injury, but probably gonna spell like not worth drafting right away because you may not see him for the first couple weeks.
Yeah, agreed. He was a good dart throw at the end, but maybe that helps your Singletary, makes you a little bit more confident there, I guess.
Yeah. And then 2 that just came out, as you mentioned, Jordan Addison. We touched on JJ McCarthy. I don't think many people are drafting him, but done for the year now with the injury. And then Addison carted off today. Well, they just mentioned a few hours ago, Kevin O'Connell said, believed not to be serious, but an ankle injury nonetheless. Probably puts his season start in doubt, given that that's only 2 weeks away.
Yeah, potentially. He was another one that, because of the QB situation, I probably wouldn't consider. Depends on his ADP.
And the last one here, just an hour ago, our friendship player, Matt Stafford, hamstring tightness, exits joint practices today. I know we both are big fans of Matt Stafford, and that offense seems to be pretty high powered. I feel like a lot of people have been buying into it this year as we've seen the ADPs rise. We'll have to kind of wait and see there. Too early as that only just happened an hour or 2 ago, but definitely something to monitor. He's a pretty solid, if you're going to punt the QB position, you're going to be able to get him the mid to late rounds.
Yeah, we'd definitely like some more information before making any calls on that one.
Mm-hmm. That's a little recap of the last couple weeks of injuries that we've seen here. So I think we're ready to jump into a mock draft. You got queued up here for us, Steve?
Yeah, let's do it. We got a 12-team half-point PPR. Our standard format, which is 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 wide receiver running back flex, 1 wide receiver tight end flex, and then 6 bench spots. Will, you're drafting out of the 7, and I am, again, as I said in the beginning, on the turn at the 12 spot. Fun stuff. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. This has been interesting, Steve. It's and we'll see how it actually plays out in real, live drafts with people. But it seems like it's been CMC and then a slew of wide receivers, and then the running backs have been going more in kind of the back half of the round here. So it'll be interesting to see what's available at 7. I think 7, 8, 9 seems like a pretty solid spot. You're getting one of those elite receivers, or you're getting like a Brees or a Bijan. They've been there, one of the end of that top tier of wideout. So I feel like it's a pretty good spot to be.
Yeah, make me feel great. Thank you.
Just giving you a heads up. Hopefully you don't get the 12 in our league.
All the good players are going at 9. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens here. So we'll get it started. Mr. CeeDee Lamb goes first, and McCaffrey, Jefferson, Chase, Hill, and Bijan. So, one of the additional running backs went, and you are on the clock.
Yeah. Mentioned there, this is kind of where I've been. Brees Hall, top running back, and he and Bijan are kind of back to back for me, and would love to have either of them here in the middle of the round. Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown, also top-tier wideouts. I feel like that is, tier break for me. Love Jonathan Taylor. Gibbs obviously fallen a bit with the injury. But, those top 9, I feel very comfortable with any of those guys as the anchor for my team here. And I feel like running back is one that if I'm going to prioritize, I usually will go with that position early on here. I have done in some mocks, some hero RB or some zero RB, but some hero RB, and it's nice to get that one top guy here and then kind of build from there. But getting that top running back is important. So I'm going to grab the running back here in Breece, and we'll see how the build goes, if a hero RB falls to me or if it's more of a traditional build. After Breece, Amon-Ra and AJ, as I talked about, those two guys, Jonathan Taylor and Garrett Wilson. So it's been pretty chalk here. Give Steve some still top running backs there, maybe an injury discount for Gibbs, and then some receivers that we actually talked about there as well.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a discount on Gibbs because I believe he was going somewhere between like that 7 and 10. If the limited amount that I've seen, I think that's the case. And which I mean, walking away with Gibbs and Barkley would be pretty amazing. But again, I don't like it. My key issue here is because I'm on the turn, I'd like one of each, but I'm also not in love with the wide receivers here. Like Puka, we mentioned, injured. Marvin Harrison, obviously high profile rookie, but a rookie nonetheless. Drafting him, he feels like you're drafting him at his ceiling. I mean, I guess if he's legit and Kyler's fine, he could be the one, the actual one. But this is drafting him at what 7, 8. Well, which seems like a good ceiling for a rookie. Drake London, we've seen some good stuff, but not first round wide receiver stuff, but new quarterback, Devontae Adams, the team sucks. Olave, again, kind of like London, we've seen it, but not to the degree we want to see it. So they're all kind of iffy. So it makes me not want to do it. So I guess I will bypass Gibbs. It's just the whole hamstring thing. I've been burned too many times. You say hamstring and I'm very just off of it. So I'm going to double up at the running back position. I'm going to go Barkley and I'm going to go Kyren Williams. They're going to be my two guys. And we will see what gets back to me. Hopefully I like the wide receivers a little bit more in the next turn here, but Gibbs goes, then Harrison, London, and Puka. Wow. Puka fell.
Yeah, Puka fell a little bit there. I mean, don't know that I would have been able to resist a Puka there, but unfortunately, he doesn't get all the way back. Travis Etienne been shooting up some boards. I'm not the biggest fan of his here in the early second. Even when he was later in the second, I was passing on him. So a little too rich for my blood. But one of the reasons that I feel like I have been liking teams with a wide receiver there out of that kind of top 9 guys was because it felt a little more comfortable with the Henry, the A-Chans here of the world, or going with a zero RB, because I don't really love the receivers here. I mean, Devontae Adams is fine, right? He's not as flashy, not as sexy as he used to be, but still going to give you good production at the end of the day. Questionable quarterbacks, but we saw him do it with Aiden O'Connell. We saw Gardner Minshew have some relevant receivers in Indianapolis last year. So he seems like probably the play. Chris Olave, a lot of people have been out on him. I'm a little more lukewarm. But we know he's a really, really good receiver, and he's someone I think that's a little maybe safer, still has some upside. So those are the two that I'd be debating between versus maybe taking a little bit earlier second running back in Devon A-Chan. He'd be the other running back I'd be looking at. So for me here, really debating between Chris Olave and an A-Chan and Adams. And I think I'm going to go with Olave. Just get that second or that next run. With the first wide receiver on my team, there is not too many other guys in New Orleans that I'm planning to get. Not many in Vegas either, but Miami. probably wouldn't be a team I'd mind getting multiple players of, but there is multiple guys I wouldn't mind getting there, getting a Mostert later, getting a Waddle. So kind of keep that team open there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a Chris Olave here. Derrick Henry goes next. Devontae Adams, Travis Etienne, Devon Achane, Josh Allen, Brandon Ayuk there at the turn with Sam Laporta. So 0 RB start there for the 101 with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, and Sam Laporta. Josh Jacobs next. Isaiah Pacheco, who is someone I've been eyeing up here in the third round. He was more in the middle of the round and has been kind of creeping up to the early third. So I think that makes sense. I think he's a little undervalued there. People, I think, are maybe still thinking that he isn't the guy, but it's just they have other guys, but I think it's clearly Pacheco at this point. Then we have Travis Kelce. How the mighty have fallen, man. We had tight ends in the first round last year. Now, first one doesn't go till 301. So a couple tight ends going there. Deebo Samuel and Nico Collins. So that brings me to this round where, once again, I'm not in love with the running backs. We've got really just Rashad White here, Joe Mixon further down. So this is kind of where, I want to get a receiver and a running back in the first round. Now, would I have been happier with Amon-Ra and Achane or Amon-Ra and Henry? A.J. Brown, those versus Breece and Olave, maybe. But this is kind of where I've been kind of almost forced to make this hero RB build, and Breece seems like a good hero to have. So it would come down to a Mike Evans, who is just the model of consistency year over year, right? We see him closing in on double-digit touchdowns almost every year. Or a guy that I think is really going to bounce back this year in Jalen Waddle. I think he's due for a big-time year, closer to his 2 years ago performance. With Chris Olave, I do have some more steady there, I think. So I think I want to kind of shoot for the moon with a Waddle. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Jalen Waddle here, and we'll see what kind of receivers, running backs get back here. A couple quarterbacks go. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Mike Evans next, and Rashad White. I'm sure you were hoping Mike Evans would get back to you. That'd be a solid RB or wide receiver 1 here at the end of the third.
Yeah, Evans and Hurts probably would have been the play. But alas, it is not to be. So we'll take a look at the running backs I missed out on. James Cook, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Kamara, Aaron Jones, James Conner. So some solid options there. And the wide receivers, we got Diggs, who I don't want Diggs. Like, I'm just not interested in playing that game. I'd rather have a Nico or a Tanko.
Right there with you.
DJ Moore, I'd be okay with, but probably not at this ADP and not as my one with the rookie and, the better pass catching options there compared to last year. Malik Neighbors, again, solid volume guy, but as the first wide receiver I'm drafting, that's kind of worrisome. You got Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Pittman, Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers. So some solid options here. The easiest one is the one we mentioned earlier, Mr. Cooper Kupp. I'm happy with him here, the back of the third, and as my wide receiver 1. Hopefully this Stafford injury isn't that bad, but we'll lock him in there. He's an easy one. It's the next one that's kind of tough. I could lean into the running backs and grab another one, like a Joe Mixon would be nice here. That could give me potentially 3 running, RB1s, pretty much like the opposite of what you're doing. Which would be really nice. But I do like the idea of getting my balance back by getting another wide receiver. Tight end also an option because I'm not sure what's going to be there when I get back. But I'm okay risking it there a little bit. So I think I'm going to go with the higher powered offense. It's between Metcalf and Devonta Smith, and I'm going to use the offense as the tiebreaker there. The Eagles are better. New offensive coordinator. Hopefully, the offense as a whole isn't some stagnant, predictable, crap show that it was last year. So we're going to lock him in there. I'm happy with him as my 2. So the running back approach in the beginning. I'm quite happy with what it's looking like now. We'll see how the tight end and quarterback positions shape up, though. DJ Moore goes, Stephon Diggs goes, there goes another tight end, Trey McBride, and Neighbors goes right before your pick, and you're back on the clock.
Yeah, I was hoping for Trey McBride. He's been someone I've been targeting. Honestly, been trying to, if I can afford to get one of the top tight ends. There's kind of like 5 in that tier that I feel pretty good about that could be that tight end one. Kind of shout out to the Ballers, Fantasy Footballers, for calling that out. Definitely a podcast, I think, that inspired Steve and I to kind of get into podcasting here. But they've been kind of pointing to that you really have a clear top 5, and then you have the hope of Kyle Pitts, and you have the up and down of Kittle, because there's so many weapons there, and there's Kittle games and there's non-Kittle games. But you have more middling guys. But those top 3, I feel like you feel really good about. And that's Laporta, that's Kelsey, that's McBride who have went. And that would come down to Mark Andrews and Kincaid for me. And this situation, I got to go Andrews. I think they both have a lot of upside. Kincaid, I think the floor is a lot lower. It could just be that he's still good, but there's other guys that are more involved. We know what Andrews is, right? As long as Andrews is healthy, that's one thing we didn't mention. He did get in a car accident today, but seems to have avoided all injuries, and was a planned off day for him, so he should be back in the practice tomorrow or later this week. But thinking about other options here, James Cook at running back, Joe Mixon, we've got DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman, right? But here, this is that 3rd, 4th round is kind of when I want to prioritize getting that tight end. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Mark Andrews here, lock that in, and kind of get that. When you're doing that zero or hero RB build, you want to make sure you have good priorities at other positions as well. And I feel like I've got that with Mark Andrews. After him, James Cook, Lamar Jackson, DK Metcalf, Dalton Kincaid goes, so kind of the end of the 4th tier, that tier. We've got Michael Pittman and then Joe Mixon to round out the 4th round. Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara, CJ Stroud, T. Higgins, Kyle Pitts, and Zay Flowers go off the board here. So a couple of interesting options here. At this point, some decent running backs, but there's some interesting wide receivers. Tank Dell, someone I'm pretty high on. I think we're both high on from our rookie draft last year, Dynasty team. Mari Cooper, George Pickens, all top of the board here at wide receiver. We've got, as I mentioned there, Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery available as the running back options. And then Anthony Richardson, someone that I've been pretty high on. I think he could be in good shape to have a pretty big year. So definitely tempting to go ahead and grab him. There's a couple of other guys that I like as well. And given that it's just you and 2 other teams that don't have a quarterback, I think probably a better time to prioritize either a 3rd receiver or 2nd running back here. So would look here for me at either a Tank Dell or Mark Cooper if I wanted to go with the receiver position, and then a James Conner or David Montgomery. Before this, injury, I think Conner feels like a better place there. I do think he's going to be in for a big year. I think that offense is going to be a lot better. So I do like getting James Conner here. Montgomery, maybe it's going to see a little boost in his ADP with people getting a little more scared off of Jahmyr Gibbs, but I do think he's still going to be good either way. I'm going to take, I think, a little bit more consistency here with James Conner, especially given that I've got a pretty even build on the team so far. And there's still a couple receivers that I wouldn't mind. We'll see how many of them go here. But given that every team has either 2 or 3, there's a chance one of them gets back. Otherwise, there's still some solid guys available there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a James Conner here. After him, Amari Cooper, Tank Dell, Aaron Jones, and Anthony Richardson go off the board to you.
Ooh, this is a toughie. So we still got some solid quarterback options here. We got Burrow, Kyler, Dak, Jordan Love, Purdy, Tua, Goff. We still got some options there. At running back, we do got David Montgomery, who could be a really big winner if this Gibbs injury is a problem. And if not, should be fine anyway. Swift, who knows, in Chicago. Stevenson, I'm not super interested in. Najee, solid volume guy. Wide receivers, I am interested in George Pickens and potentially like a breakout campaign. I'd like to think there's some confidence in him given they let Deontay Johnson walk. I don't think you do that if you don't think Pickens can step up. But at the same time, they're talking about Ayuk, so maybe they're not that confident in him. Keenan Allen's there, Christian Kirk, old reliable. Not a bad option. Terry McLaurin with the rookie quarterback. I don't know. Rome, I'm not really interested in. And then Jaden Reed, if that's where you want to put your Green Bay shot. And then tight end is, as you were mentioning, kind of concerning. I'm fine with Kittle. He's a little boom bust, but he's a huge winner if they do trade Ayuk, which I don't think they're going to. But he would be a big winner. Evan Ingram, solid. Brock Bowers, I'm not really interested in. And Joku, I don't really know what to do with. Jake Ferguson's a solid kind of just, you don't get your guy, you pull the trigger on him later kind of deal. So I think I'm going to wait at tight end. I'm going to take, I'm bouncing between George Pickens and Jaden Reed as both kind of like upside options. I'm not sure which one's better. Like George Pickens has less competition, but it hasn't really broken out, but is on the worst offense. Jaden Reed definitely on the best offense, but one of 4 options, any one of which could break out, or maybe they all just kind of cannibalize each other and they all end up being like a mix of 2s and 3s or something, and there's no true breakout. I think I'm going to go with Pickens and just get a little upside on that roster. And then I will use this opportunity to strike at quarterback here and draft Mr. Kyler Murray. I think his ADP's solid. Like if he was up in like the 4th or something, I probably wouldn't be taking a shot on him, given we haven't seen a lot in like 2 years. But down the 6th round, given the upside he represents, being able to throw and run, and you got Marvin Harrison there and Trey McBride breaking out. I'd like that in the 6th round. So I'll draft him and we'll see what happens with this tight end situation. Montgomery goes, Kirk, Jaden Reed, and DeAndre Swift. You're back on the clock.
Yeah. Took the temptation there. Kyler was definitely someone I have been looking at, and I've been liking to try to get that McBride-Kyler pair there in the kind of that 4th, 6th round. As I talked about, I think that's going to be a pretty good offense. But just taking James Conner, definitely putting a lot of eggs in that basket, so that was nice. But Jaden Reed is someone that I've been pretty high on as well this offseason, as you alluded to there. I do think, we've seen Christian Watson has a chance, has that probably the best prototype to be the one, but it just feels like it's going to be Jaden Reed. He looks, I think, the best overall. He's been healthier than Christian Watson has, and I just think he has the rapport. So I do like Jaden Reed. Been seeing him here in the 6th, and it looks like he's creeping up, so he might be someone that you got to grab in the 5th. But I do think he is a great option there as well. So I think that was a good pick. Pretty balanced here. Quarterback, you got Burrow and Dak. Not really looking at either of them here at the moment. So looking at running backs, okay, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Raheem Mostert, all solid. But I think there's not better, but running backs I like a little more. It's more like kind of depth later guys. So I'm going to strike here at wide receiver again, get some more stability there. And there's some guys, here ADP wise, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Roma Dunze. I don't know what to make of the Chicago team. There's a lot of good receivers there. There's a rookie quarterback. Is it going to be all of them? Is it going to be one of them? Is it going to be none of them? I don't really know what to do. So I've been kind of avoiding that unless there's a big fall for one of them, ADP wise. So I'm looking at the guy that I'm expecting to have a pretty big bounce back year, and he is the wide receiver to a great receiver that we saw there go just before you in the 3rd round, and Mike Evans, and that's Chris Godwin. I think we get him back in the slot. You get him fully healthy, right? I think he is due for a pretty good year. And I think getting him here a little later in the 6th round gives me a good 3rd receiver to plug in. have any injury concerns ahead of him, plug him right into the wide receiver position. But I think he's a very solid flex guy. So going to go ahead and grab a Chris Godwin here. After him, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Joe Burrow off the board, Zamir White, Ramondre Stevenson, and Dak Prescott to round out the round. Terry McLaurin, George Kittle, Raheem Mostert, Najee Harris, Jonathan Brooks, and Evan Ingram board there. So it comes back here to me. We're looking at receivers, top of the board here, the rookie and Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Rasheed Rice, Addison, and Brown, who I'm sure will drop a little bit as we have some injuries there to those guys. Running back, we've got Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Zach Moss. So a couple of interesting guys there. Quarterback, Jordan Love, still here. And later in the round, I think he's pretty solid. I don't imagine he gets back as Team 10 has not taken a quarterback. And this is kind of around where backup quarterbacks start going. But there are a few later guys that I'm looking at here. So wouldn't mind trying to grab one of these later guys. I'll likely have to be competing with backup quarterbacks for some teams here, unfortunately. But that's what you'll have to do, in this scenario. So going back, striking the kind of multiple position guys in receiver and running back again. And yeah, there's, you have your Pollard, your Chubb, your Moss. Not in love with Pollard. I feel like I'd just be taking him to take him. So I'm actually going to look at a different guy on his team, and Calvin Ridley. I think he, I think he's going to be. It was going to be due for a solid year, but if he can get off to a good start and build some big rapport with a Will Levis, you could see him kind of move into maybe like a 1A, 1B role with DeAndre Hopkins. Whereas it seemed like that was going to be tough for him to kind of break through with DeAndre having a whole year in this offense already. So I'm going to strike here. I think it's a good upside pick, but he's my fourth receiver, so I'm really getting some good depth there. And I think I do like some running backs that are going to be a little later here and can kind of get some more depth there, but want to get some more stability here at the running back position, and we'll see what happens there. Sorry, with the receiver position, we'll see what happens with running backs and quarterback for me.
Yeah, so it's a shame. Kittle and Ingram were the tight ends that I were interested in. I wasn't super interested in Njoku. I'm not interested in Bowers. You got Ferguson there. Definitely interested there. I do worry about some regression because their red zone offense passed a lot last year to like a historic level, I believe. So that's a little scary. Goddard, I wouldn't want because I got Devonta Smith. Hawkinson, I'm not interested in. Schultz has no upside. Freiermuth is fine. Komet, not interested. Luke Musgrave, Taysom Hill. The list dries up. So, I don't want to take a tight end here, but I kind of feel like I have to. At wide receiver, Rasheed Rice is really difficult to pass up here. He's got, all the off-field troubles baked into his ADP, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen with that this year. So getting him here is pretty wild. And the real issue, I'm happy with those two, but I would like another running back. I haven't drafted one since the second round. So to grab just anyone else as some depth would be nice. But I'm going to have to roll the dice because I don't want to get burned that bad on the tight end position. So I'm going to get Jake Ferguson here. I'd imagine the number 2 target in Dallas there, and then at least number 2 a red zone target. So we'll get him locked in, and I'm going to go with Rasheed Rice. There's a lot of upside there in the 8th round, potentially being the number 1 for Kansas City. We mentioned Hollywood's hurt, so yeah, we'll see. That could be interesting as long as that suspension doesn't come. And then finally, there we go, Jordan Addison, the 802, and then Chubb goes 803, Pollard, and there we go, Hollywood at 805. You are back on the clock.
Yeah, it's tempting. Jordan Love still here. I do think this is a good spot for him, but I think there's some better depth at these onesie positions, and there's still a couple later guys that I have been eyeing up here. So I'm going to hold off on that position, and I'm going to look once again to those onesies, right? Receiver, I'm in pretty good shape, but we'd be looking top of the board here at Deontay Johnson. Interesting option there in Carolina. New head coach, so we'll see. Can they break out? Can they show what they potentially were? What Bryce Young could be. We could have Deontay be the number one. Keon Coleman, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, as we talked about there, potentially a receiver there for Green Bay. But looking here at the running back position, we've got a guy that I've been a little higher on, and I think could be due for a bounce back year in Javonte Williams. I know there's still a lot of risk there, but this is that kind of prototypical year 2 back off of his ACL. They weren't great last year, probably won't be great this year either, but he was still kind of working his way back from the injury. I think it's a good upside play to take here as my wide running back 3 in the 8th round when I've really should have most of my flexes covered. So this is really more of an upside play. And there's still some good safer options a little later, as well as quarterbacks later. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Javonte Williams here. Jordan Love goes, as we expected there with a team that still needed a quarterback. Jalen Warren next, Deontay Johnson, Christian Watson, and Austin Eckler, and Keon Coleman finish up the round there. DeAndre Hopkins next, Brian Robinson, Devin Singletary, Brock Purdy, Brock Bowers, and Brian Thomas all off the board. So taking a look at the board as a whole here, we've got Caleb Williams, we've got JSN still on the board, we've got Tua Tagovailoa, Trey Benson, Dallas Goedert. So some interesting options there. Running back wise, I'd be looking here at a Gus Edwards, at a Tajay Spears, kind of discounted version of the Tony Pollard. Zeke Elliott's an interesting option. Not going to be sexy, but I think he's going to be the touchdown guy there. And Jerome Ford, a little lower down there as well. Some interesting options at running back. Receiver, big fan of JSN, as we've chatted about him a good bit there. I think he could be due for a breakout this year. So that would be getting just kind of more depth at that receiver position. Cortland Sutton, an interesting option there in Denver, as there's got to be somebody catching the ball. But I think, for me here, it's going to be going with either JSN at the receiver position or getting, one of the running backs in a Gus or Spears or Zeke. I think I'm going to strike here at wide receiver. I do think there's a drop off, and I do think there's, a lot of kind of dart throw lottery tickets at running backs to take. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the wide receiver position here with JSN and really kind of lock in the top 5. Maybe there may be a value guy that I get later, but we feel really confident about getting my QB and kind of just loading up at running back the rest of the way here. After him, Tua, Caleb, and Dallas Goedert, and Gus. To you.
Yeah, I really wanted Gus. So that stings a little bit, but I do want some running backs. I'll peek at wide receivers here. Jameson Williams, I'm really not interested in. Cortland Sutton sucks. Curtis Samuel is like fine depth play. Dobbs is great here if you want to take a shot on Green Bay and just not pay the ADP that the others are costing. Or at least Watson and Reed. Wicks has got to be down here somewhere. Maybe we'll find him later. Tyler Lockett's not bad. And Mitchell, Shakir, Jacoby Myers. I mean, blah, blah. It's not great down here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go back-to-back running backs. And I'm going to... I do like Tajay Spears this year. If I was getting a Tennessee guy, I would get him, for the youth. We saw some good pass catching out of him last year. And he got an ADP discount compared to Pollard. So he would be my pick, but I don't think he fits the team very well. Like, he's got upside. I'm just not sure how big that upside is. So I'm going to mix safety with what I think is better upside. I'm going to get Zeke, as you mentioned. Just a nice, safe guy. He's going to get, as long as he's not completely toast and going to get you started, he'll get some volume. He'll get some red zone work. He'll be a solid depth guy. And then I'm going to pair him with Chase Brown. I'm going to take my shot at the running back in Cincinnati, which could be a home run. I mean, we've seen Mixon be a home run for years now. If it's Chase Brown, in the 10th round, that is a massive win. I'm not convinced it is. Moss was solid last year, but it seems things are trending Chase Brown's way right now. So I'm going to take that, and that way I get myself some more running back depth. I got an upside shot and a safety shot, so that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with what I've done. Spears does go immediately after that, as well as Goff, Benson, and Blake Corum. You're back up.
All right, so back to me. A lot of the running backs went, so took some of the guys I was hoping for there. Still some good guys available, but the more important thing was did survive the quarterback run. There's a couple guys I was comfortable with. Tua would have been nice to pair up with a Jalen Waddle, but obviously not the case there. Caleb's solid, but not as mobile, right? When we're looking at those rookie quarterbacks, we're looking more at the mobility. You really need him to kind of break out and throw for a ton of yards, which typically you just don't see too much with the rookies. And Jared Goff goes up the board. I think Jared Goff's a great late round QB. I read that he only has 2 outdoor games this year on schedule. All those home games at home, or all those home games in a dome, plus some of those divisional games, and then the way that their schedule works out, only 2 or 3 road or outdoor road games. So that definitely helps with Jared Goff. I think he starts with like 6 in a row in a dome. So definitely something that you like there. But the one guy here that's left for me, as I mentioned, mobility there is Jaden Daniels. I do think he is potentially going to be the best of the rookie quarterbacks from a fantasy perspective. I do think Caleb's going to be a great quarterback, but we're looking for that mobility, and that's what Jaden Daniels is all about.
I like that. That's a good pick.
I think this is a great, obviously none of us are super excited about the receiving options there, unfortunately. Guys that we liked, but just haven't really been picked too much. But I just think that the scrambling ability is going to be there. He's going to be able to dump it off. So at this late in the game, I'm thrilled to be able to grab a quarterback here in Jaden Daniels and get that locked down, and then otherwise stream in, but hopefully be able to get enough running out of him there. After him, Curtis Samuel, Jamison Williams, Jerome Ford, who was the other person I would have been looking to take there had Jaden gone off the board there, and they just needed to get a running back. Cortland Sutton, Hawkinson, and Dalton Schultz there at the end of the 10th. Romeo Dubes, Tyler Lockett, Justin Herbert, Khalil Shakir, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Charbonnet in the middle here at the 6th. So back to me here. We're looking at the top of the board. We've got A.D. Mitchell. We've got what are we looking at here? Jacoby Myers. Almost I'd say Jalen Myers here in Vegas. Mike Williams, Avery Legette, Palmer at receiver. Nobody that's kind of calling out to me. Maybe some later guys that I like at receiver, but nothing calling out to me here. So I'm going to be looking at the running back position. The top guys I'll be thinking about Chuba Hubbard and J.K. Dobbins. We do have Rico Dowdle, Jalen Wright, rookie in Miami, and Ty Chandler. So some interesting options there. I think what I'm going to look to do here, in this kind of hero-ish RB team where I don't have a lot of depth, I want to get some more stability early in the season. And for me, that's going to be Chuba Hubbard. I know we still don't know what's going to happen with Miles Sanders. Hubbard kind of outplayed him this year last year. And I think there's a chance that if they're comfortable with what they see out of Brooks, the rookie running back, who may not really play until a couple games in, there's a good chance we could have Hubbard as the starter for the first couple weeks to a month. And even when Jonathan Brooks is getting warmed up, I know you and I are both high on him. I think he's going to be more of a mid-season play for him. So Chuba Hubbard, I think, is a great guy to target here if you're looking at a hero or zero RB build that's going to give you a first couple weeks of ability of just getting some work on the team. So going to go ahead and get my 4th running back there in Chuba Hubbard and probably look to just kind of pound that position the rest of the way here. After him, Pat Freiermuth, A.D. Mitchell, Jacoby Myers, and Josh Palmer.
Yeah, it's a shame. Palmer was a smash pick for me here. So that's a shame. I would have liked that one. But my team is balanced. I got 4 of each. I'm sitting with, let's see here. We got Barkley, Kyron Williams, Zeke, and Chase Brown at the running back position, and then Cup, Devonta Smith, Pickens, and Rasheed Rice at the wide receiver position. So a nice mix of stability and upside. I would have liked Palmer as kind of both. I mean, he doesn't got like wide receiver 1 upside, but to be the number 1 for Herbert was definitely in the cards, I think. So that would have been pretty interesting. So looking here, you had mentioned Dobbins as an interesting play. Dowdle is a solid pick here. I got Zeke, so I wouldn't want to do that. Jalen Wright, I can't say I'm interested in. Ty Chandler's okay. Kendre Miller is just dead to the world apparently now. Like he's just been, no one is interested in him. We do have one option here that is jumping out at me, and that is Tyler Algier. The 2 in Atlanta, but at least last year was still worked in and fantasy usable at times. And then if Bijan goes down, a real league winner, because we've seen it from him before, and he's pretty young. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Mr. Algier, probably the last running back I grab. Let's look. Is there anything here? Oh, Khalil Herbert, our boy. Damian Pierce is down here. CEH is down here. Matson, Tank Bigsby, AJ Dillon, Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill. I mean, there's nothing down here that I can see myself grabbing. So yeah, that probably my last running back there. We'll take a look at the wide receivers. Mike Williams, I think, is kind of interesting if he can manage to stay healthy. He is with Aaron Rodgers now. There is no clear 2 there. So that would be fun. Xavier Legette, this is a great shot for a rookie down here in the 12th round, but you're kind of, you're believing in the quarterback situation there, which I don't think I do. Jerry Jeudy, not great. Rashid Shaheed, okay. Brandon Cooks, solid. Prior got Jake Ferguson and Zeke, so I don't want it too much in that offense. Gabe Davis, whatever. Josh Downs just hurt. Dotson, we both liked. Didn't do much last year. He's got the rookie. Rookie likes to run. That's kind of worrisome. Ricky Pearsall would be a nice get if Ayuk gets traded. And then you do got Dontavian Wicks down here. So I think... I think that is where I'm going to place my bet, is on Dontavian Wicks. Like, I'm going to get my Green Bay shot, and I'm going to get it super late. Probably not a big likelihood of it succeeding, but you could say that about a lot of people on this, in this tier. So we're going to lock in Mr. Wicks there. I'll get my Green Bay play. We'll see what gets back to me here to end the draft. Dobbins, Kirk Cousins, Mike Williams, and Cole Kmet go.
Yeah, so looking pretty much just hammer that running back position. As we said, Dobbins would have been a nice late get here for me. Obviously, a lot of risk there, but at this stage, I'm just kind of looking to take as many lottery tickets as I can, and that's going to be all here in the running back position. Top guy, guys I'm looking at, Jalen Wright, rookie out of Miami. Probably need an injury ahead of him to really get him on the field early. And he's a guy that, while I would like to have him, I'd like to know that I'm going to get him, because I don't think he'd be somebody I'd be comfortable cutting if we go 2 weeks and he's not getting work, right? He'd kind of feel like you have to keep him, right? Because of the upside there. So I'm going to look at somebody I think that I could see getting a little more work, but if he doesn't, then I'm okay moving on from. And that's Kendre Miller, as you mentioned. I think a lot of people here are excited for him, but it seems like that has faded as the coaching staff says Jamal Williams is ahead of him on the depth chart still, which is still tough to see. So, at this point, once again, just kind of taking some upside shots here, and he's somebody that I want to see what I can get out of him. So we're going to take him here with the first pick there. Next, Jerry Jeudy, Xavier Legette, Rico Dowdle, Rashid Shaheed, a couple quarterbacks to end the round, and Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. Jalen Wright goes next. Brandon Cooks, Luke Musgrave, Ty Chandler, Marshawn Lloyd, and Taysom Hill. So looking, here once again at that running back spot. Some guys I'm looking at here. Antonio Gibson in New England seems to be, pretty clearly the 2 there. Probably going to get a lot of receiving work, but, pretty clearly locked into that 2 spot. Kamani Vidal, another guy there in LA that seems like he has a chance. It'll really be interesting to see what happens, right? Gus is what everyone's expecting to be the guy. J.K. Dobbins could step in and be good, but we Kamani Vidal, I think, has been kind of the darling in rookie season, right? Not clear what they're going to do, but it looks like Kamani Vidal didn't play in the first game of the preseason, and there was really, from what I understand, not too much when it comes to from an injury standpoint with him. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe they've seen what they needed out of him, and then they want to keep him fresh. So he's a guy kind of late in drafts that I'm looking at. So I'm going to take a shot there on Kamani Vidal, and have a couple of other names pocketed here for later in the round. After him, Antonio Gibson, Cade Otton, Ben Sinnett, and Gabe Davis.
Beautiful. I'm up for my final 2 picks here. We're just going to focus on wide receiver positions. I think you ran through the running backs pretty well there. Not interested in anything there. If there was an upside quarterback, like if a Jaden Daniels was here, I would take a shot there. Just for that high rushing upside. I mean, maybe Will Levis has that kind of Jameis Winston upside to him, but I'm not going to take a shot there. Same thing with tight end. If there was something here that I really liked, like Chig is still here. I mean, it's just haven't seen enough from these guys to really want to take a shot on any of them. So a wide receiver it is. We got Josh Downs, who's hurt. Dotson, we talked about. Jalen Polk, interesting for a rookie, but with a rookie quarterback. So Pearsall's fine, but again, you're kind of relying on Ayuk or an injury. Troy Franklin in Denver is not bad. Then we get to my first pick, Quentin Johnston, who I do not believe is going to amount to anything.
Yeah, I've heard trade rumors with him too. People are saying maybe he's someone new regime. Maybe they want to get a fresh start. Maybe get like a 3rd or 4th round pick from somebody for him that needs like a wide receiver 3. So maybe he gets a fresh start, and that helps him too.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad sign.
Yeah.
Whether it's your pick or not, that's not ideal. But as I mentioned with Palmer, the wide receiver room's open there in LA, and Herbert's a capable quarterback, and someone should emerge as at least a 2. I'm in the 13th round, my second to last pick. It's not hurting anything to do this. If he was up at round 10, I wouldn't be doing it. But here at the end, we'll take an upside shot on him, see if he can break out. I do flag Michael Wilson here. I could stack him with Kyler. He's like the clear number 2 wide receiver, but he's probably the clear number 3 option when you consider Trey McBride going out. So not super interested in there. The other one I'm going to take a shot on is Marvin Mims. We saw some flashes last year. It's another room where things are wide open. Cortland Sutton is probably the one, but has just not been great for ever now. So, if Mims can break out, it's possible. Year 2 guy, we saw some stuff in year 1. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But again, my last pick, we'll look at his usage on week 1 or 2 and then cut him. So we have added him to the roster. That finishes off my draft. Downs goes, McLaughlin, Tracy, and whoever this Davis guy is in Buffalo that I just don't recall.
Ray Davis. He's interesting rookie option there. He seems like he might be the RB2. He was someone that I had on my short list of running backs remaining here. So pretty solid. John Dotson, interesting option here late in the draft, right? Maybe you get him and he looks at least as a good decent flex play, right? So definitely something that is tempting me off of my kind of wide receiver lottery ticket train there. But when I'm looking at the running backs, looking at here like a Bucky Irving, who is a rookie running back that went to Tampa, kind of in a similar mold. There's really not a ton of depth behind the starter, like there's like Buffalo. So it could be Rashad White, and maybe Bucky can break in. Another kind of gross name, but because of injuries, because of the way the team runs 2 running backs, A.J. Dillon, man, it is gross, but this late lottery tickets, maybe he's on the field. And then another guy that I think could be the RB2 there is going to be Justice Hill in Baltimore. We've got some injuries there that are going to probably trip up some of the guys that would be ahead of him on the depth chart. So I feel like there's a good chance he could start the year as a good change of pace running back there. So he's somebody that I would kind of be looking at here. Be debating between him and Dotson. And I think just the upside of Dotson's a little too high. So I think Hill's somebody that may not get drafted. And you may be able to kind of pick up there late. Maybe you have a guy that goes on IR. So I'm going to go ahead and get a potential stack there with Dotson and Jaden Daniels. After him, Baker Mayfield, Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Polk, Ricky Pearsall, Troy Franklin, and mystery relevant Dameon Pierce.
There we go. So that wraps up the draft. Will, in the 107, do you want to run down your team?
Yeah. So at quarterback, just Jaden Daniels. At tight end, just Mark Andrews. Kind of locking in those onesies. Running back, got Breece Hall, James Conner, Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Kendre Miller, and Kamani Vidal. And wide receiver, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Jahan Dotson.
Beautiful.
Overall, pretty solid. I think there's, obviously running backs a little lacking. That's what happens when you only get two there in 7 rounds. But feel really good about the wide receiver depth there. And barring injury, Mark Andrews should be a locked and loaded tight end. So if I can get, good rushing option or rushing upside there with Jaden Daniels and find a running back or two, I think it could be in good shape. What about you? How you feeling?
Yeah, so Kyler Murray, Jake Ferguson for the onesies, and then at running back we got Barkley, Kyron Williams, Zeke, Chase Brown, Tyler Algier, and then at wide receiver, Kupp, Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Rashee Rice, Dontavian Wicks, Quinton Johnston, and Marvin Mims. I think I like it. For a first mock where I didn't really know how things were going to play out, I am pretty happy with it. I am concerned, kind of like in those middle rounds of like if George Pickens doesn't break out, or Rashee Rice, it doesn't take another step or does get suspended, then I'm kind of in trouble because the next death spot is Dontavian Wicks, who is no guarantee either. So a little worried there. I do have a lot of concentration on teams. I got 2 Eagles and Barkley and Devonta Smith, 2 Rams with Kyron and Kupp, and 2
first 4 picks too.
Yeah, indeed, and 2 Dallas players as well with Ferguson and Zeke. The good part of that is that they're all good offenses. So, if you're going to do that, I've picked some good ones to do it with. But it is concerning where if, Stafford's injury is serious or, Hurts gets hurt for some reason, then things could go south really quickly. But barring all that aside, I like it. I'm especially being on the 12. It's always hard drafting at the 12 spot, on those turns. So, I'm happy.
Yeah, good to get another draft under our belt here. Been almost a year.
Yeah, another for you. First for me. Just to get one in there is nice.
Yeah, I'm saying it's been a year, so get another one together here.
Yeah, it is. So we'll be looking to do these once a week until the beginning of the season, which is what?
Yeah.
3
just
more episodes?
3 weeks away.
Yeah. So this one and then I guess 2 more, just to get our feet wet. Keep the podcasting vibes going, keep it fresh in our minds.
Yeah, so, get everybody ready for the NFL season. Just to think it'd be 3 weeks from 3 weeks from tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think
4 weeks maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Won't be long.
Yeah, 3 weeks from tomorrow, so we're right around the corner.
There we go. Yeah, right here. Comes up on you quick every year.
Sure does.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap us up for this week. So tune in next week. We'll do another mock draft. Until then, folks, trust your board.